The chair recognizes Steve King of Iowa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Chairman, reserve the point of order.
Mr. Scott reserves the point of order.
Amendment to H.R. 1913, offered by Mr. King of Iowa.
The gentleman is recognized in support of his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment goes to the end of the bill, and it simply says, since we have apparently waived the reading, which I do, it's very short. It says the term sexual orientation as used in this act or any amendments to this act does not include pedophilia. And we've gone through in this debate significant discussion about what sexual orientation means and does not mean. And yet I have not heard from the proponents of this bill into the record a definition of sexual orientation. I would like to have defined sexual orientation precisely. I recognize, Mr. Chairman, that we can't. It's unlikely that we will get that done in this committee, given the reticence on the part of the majority party to consider any of the changes that we've offered here. I think in a fashion that is determined to bring this bill out of this committee, and I'm frustrated that we're not able to add better definitions to the ambiguous terms that will be used to lock people up in penitentiaries if this bill becomes law. And so this amendment that I have addresses the issue of pedophiles, and under the term sexual orientation, if it includes those types of proclivities, particularly the one that is the most egregious of all, and that's victimizing children for the sake of sexual activity with them, the pedophiles shall not be protected under this legislation if we're able to adopt this language that's in my amendment. So it would not, that my amendment does not specifically define sexual orientation, although I've tried to do that. But what it does do is say it doesn't include pedophiles, because I think the intent of this committee is clearly that we don't want to provide let's just say, a special protected status for pedophiles. There are others that I would put in that list as well, but this is the one that stands out to me that should be beyond question, that this committee should be able to take a look at this amendment and conclude that whatever we might think about proclivities, pedophiles is not one that should be included. And so that's what I'd yield.
Would the gentleman yield? I want to compliment him on the tenacity in which he has pursued specificity and the seeking of the definitions of many of these terms that are generally frequently taken for granted or thought to be somewhere in the law already existing.
Reclaiming it, and I thank the gentleman chairman for recognizing that, and I point out again that I do have some history with these terms, and having been involved in the litigation of these terms, I understand, I think from that experience, the implications that might come forward with this kind of language that seem to be accepted by a lot of members of this panel. And so I would urge adoption of my amendment that defines clearly that whatever sexual orientation is, it is not and does not include pedophiles. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd urge adoption of my amendment, and I would yield back the balance of my time.
The chair recognizes the gentlelady from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to strike the last word in opposition to this amendment that, the gentleman claims that we have not pinned down a definition for sexual earlier session yet today. I drew his attention to the fact that there is a definition with regard to the Hate Crimes Statistics Act. During the break, searched to just confirm that what I had articulated earlier today was indeed the definition, and it is. Sexual orientation means consensual homosexuality or heterosexuality. That is the definition. Now, as you've noted earlier, there's only one term defined in this legislation, and that's gender identity on page 14. And the reason for that is that that definition exists nowhere else in federal law. This is the first time it's occurring in federal law. But in every other case, gender, disability, sexual orientation, race, national origin, color, and I'm missing one. The architecture of the hate crime statutes in the United States is those definitions do not lie within that architecture. They exist elsewhere in federal law, and we rely on them. So there is a clear, concise definition of sexual orientation. Your amendment is unnecessary and also, I would add, inflammatory in terms of insinuations, I would say. But given the definition of sexual orientation, meaning consensual homosexuality or heterosexuality, it is absolutely clear that that could not include pedophilia.
I thank the gentlelady. The vote occurs on the King amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in
Mr. Chairman.
opposed say no.
Mr. Chairman, there are others who wanted to speak on this amendment.
I'm sorry, I did not hear anybody seek to be recognized. I apologize for that. I never ignore anyone that seeks recognition. But we've taken the vote already. As a matter of fact, the vote prevailed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would ask a recorded vote.
Well, I said it prevailed. Oh, you asked for, yes. A recorded vote is ordered.
Mr.
I hope one day I have that equal influence, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Mr. Conyers votes no. Mr.